Welcome, friends. Welcome to the discussions on the Economics for Everyone series. We have been discussing the Russian socialism as a part of economic systems. We'll continue that discussions now. We know how the Russian Revolution started with the context of First World War and the existing situation of Russia under the rule of the Tsar monarchy was supported by the Dumas, the parliament group. Now, there are circumstances which led to it. The support of Soviets and Bolsheviks Red Army, led by Vladimir Lenin. There are poor working conditions, the poor condition of farmers, and the demand of Soviets to actually requesting the administrators, rulers to withdraw from the war, especially the war against Germany. Now we had, to some extent, Nicholas II, Tsar ruler, gave the power to, abdicated the power to the Dumas, who also shared with Soviet to avoid any crisis. Despite that, they did not listen to the Soviets on withdrawing from the World War, and the existing prevailing working conditions and conditions of the poor has led to the complete revolution. Workers also had good reasons for discontent: overcrowded housing with often deplorable sanitary conditions, long hours at work. On the eve of the war, a 10-hour workday, 6 days a week, was the average, and many were working 11 to 12 hours a day by 1960. No doubt, Karl Marx's surplus value had a major impact in the revolution. Um, Constant risk of injury and death from poor safety and sanitary conditions, harsh discipline. Okay. Uh, what we say is, in terms of the working class conditions, um, social cause of Russian Revolution can be derived from centuries of oppression of the working class by the Tsarist regime in World War I, and became worse after 1914 by steep wartime increases in the cost of living. So there are a lot of strong foundation of economic and social conditions which actually caused this revolution. The rapid industrialization of Russia also resulted in urban overcrowding and poor conditions for urban industrial workers, as we can observe. Marxism-Leninism was the cornerstone of Soviet ideology, as we saw it. It explained and, to a larger extent, what you call legitimized the CPSU's, Communist Party of Soviet Union's right to rule, while explaining its role as a vanguard party, that is a leading party. Marxism-Leninism had several central tenets. The main tenet was the party's status as the sole ruling party. The 1977 constitution referred to the party as the leading and guiding force of Soviet society and the nucleus of its political system of all state and public organizations is the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. State socialism was essential, and from Stalin until Mikhail Gorbachev, who actually finally changed the course of Russian economy and society, who was probably one of the last presidents of the Russian communist leaders. In 1989-90, when he brought this idea of perestroika, liberal reforms. Okay, what happens is, Gorbachev supported privatization to a degree, but based his policies on Lenin's and Bukharin's opinion. Was one of the Russian ideologists who talked about new economic policy in 1920s, and supported the complete state ownership over the commanding heights of the economy. And something similar what has been attempted in China almost a decade back. Unlike liberalism, Marxism-Leninism stressed the role of individual as a member of a collective rather than the importance of the individual, unlike the capitalistic society. Okay. Uh, we'll discuss about the basis foundation of these Marxist ideas continue, which actually influenced the revolution, Soviet Russia and other countries which followed communism, socialism. Um, okay, the foundation was in what you call the bourgeois revolution and proletarian revolution. Marxists traditionally had believed that just as capitalism emerged out of world feudal order, so would socialism emerge out of what you call the bourgeois society. Under the old regime, anyone who lived in an urban area was a bourgeois or a member of bourgeois, but the term was usually applied only to wealthier people who did no manual work. In fact, sometimes if you see these definitions differ across the context. Bourgeois were also those who lived from their invested income or property, thus lived nobly and constituting a distinct social category that had its own representation in municipal politics. In addition, the bourgeois often enjoyed certain privileges that are called the rights of the city. After the revolution, the term bourgeois became associated with the concept of a capitalist social class. In the 19th century, most notably in the work of Karl Marx and other socialist writers, the French Revolution was described as a bourgeois revolution in which a capitalist bourgeoisie overthrew the feudal aristocracy in order to remake society according to capitalist interests and values, thereby paving the way for industrial revolution. Okay, now this has changed a lot, because as we can see it, the Marxists traditionally believe this own capitalist bourgeois later will be thrown out by the socialist, okay, who represented what do you call it as the working class, which is known as the proletarian revolution. Okay, so the proletarian revolution mainly consists of the working class uh, society people, okay, throwing out what you call the capitalist bourgeois, okay, um, and creating a socialist um, society. So there are two phases in it. What we saw here, when we talk about what do you call it as the capitalist bourgeois throws of the feudal aristocracy here, okay, and setting up the industrial basis for industrial revolution. And we talk about the social revolution, the work where the working class attempts to overthrow the bourgeois, okay, which is the social revolution of proletarian is advocated by socialist and communist among others. Okay, what is the ultimate achievement they want to do it to establish a socialist communist society is to reach an egalitarianism or egalitarian society. An egalitarian is a person who believes in the equality of all people, and an egalitarian society gives everyone equal rights. Um, Something close to equality. Okay, the opposite of egalitarian could be fascist society or dictatorship. It is interesting to see that even in the case of American Revolution, it started in the as a part of the war against the British monarchy, uh, where they wanted more representation for their voice in the British Parliament, and that's where it started. But more influenced by the classical school of thought process. And something similar, I want almost as good as equality, something similar to it, according to me, very much towards egalitarianism. And here in the socialist pattern of Russia, this the goal is same, but the what do you say, the modus operandi or method of achieving it is through the what you call the collective method, uh, similarly throughout the monarchy and the bourgeois capitalist. The ultimate intention is to achieve some kind of equality, uh, if not complete egalitarianism, but the process of achieving in these two countries were influenced by two different ideologies. Hence, we have a birth of what we call socialism, capitalism, and American and Russian revolution. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, we'll keep discussing many other topics. Yeah.